Good evening. Health Minister Yeung has accepted criticism over the government's handling of the fast food supply scandal that has spread from Shanghai to Hong Kong. Center for Food Safety officials have accused McDonald's of being evasive and misleading about whether rotten meat was sold to customers here, while lawmakers are demanding a full investigation. The scandal erupted more than a week ago when a television report exposed the Shanghai Husi Food Company for poor hygiene standards, accusing it of selling rotten meat to fast food chains and falsifying expiry dates. Husi's parent company, the US-based OSI Group, has sent its top executives to Shanghai for damage control, and today they admitted that their own investigation had found standards were indeed below par. The company has decided to stop using products from all Husi plants and promised sweeping changes to its China operations, including its management team. A quality control center will be set up to better supervise the production line. Here in Hong Kong, both the government and McDonald's are under fire after they first played down the scandal and confirmed a week later that the fast food giant had imported 380 tons of pork and chicken from Husi over the past year. This afternoon, lawmakers on LegCo's food safety panel held a 90-minute meeting with officials to demand answers.
We have urged the government to launch a full investigation on the McDonald's food scandal. And we hope that the government can do that forcefully so that the public can understand what happened. And that the McDonald's should be more transparent and be more responsible and put public health and food safety on the top priority rather than the enterprise interest.
McDonald's has been severely criticized for initially denying using Husi food, then making a U-turn on Thursday and pulling a range of items off its Hong Kong menu. The Center for Food Safety today explained how McDonald's had been evasive, misleading investigators by telling them it had imported meat from Husi's Hebei plant rather than from Shanghai.
I think initially the Center for Food Safety would like to have a face-to-face meeting, and then at the end it was compromised to have a teleconference meeting.
Food and Health Secretary Yeung was diplomatic, but the finger-pointing was clear.
It was true that the Center for Food Safety did encounter certain difficulty in getting in touch with the management of the company.
But still, the government was less than forthcoming today with its broader investigation into 8 other fast food chains. The Food Safety Ordinance requires restaurants to keep records of their imported foodstuff for 24 months and produce them when necessary. The Health Minister admitted the Center for Food Safety had checked its own records of Husi imports for this year, instead of looking at the past 12 months.
We do accept criticism on this particular point, including I myself have quoted this particular information wrongly initially. As I said, the public expect the government to be very proactive in managing all these food safety incidents, but we also expect the industry to be cooperative with the government regulator in terms of providing timely and accurate information.
McDonald's handling of the fiasco so far has been a public relations disaster. The head of the chain in Hong Kong yesterday read out a public apology, but only attracted further criticism by refusing to answer questions, including whether it had lied about selling tainted meat to fast food lovers. A group opposing Occupy Central has warned the government not to let the civil disobedience campaign negotiate political reform with Beijing on behalf of pan-democrat lawmakers. Group leader Robert Chow also promised to renounce his right to claim British nationality to silence his critics. ATV's Emily Seal reports.
Leaders of the Alliance for Peace and Democracy were at government headquarters at Tamar this afternoon to meet with the 3 ministers in charge of the political reform process. They reflected their opposition to the Occupy Central movement, backed by the 930,000 signatures they have collected over the past 9 days.
We are not trying to enforce the signatures onto the government. We think that this only represents the thinking of a group of Hong Kong people, although it is a very significant group of people.
The alliance got its biggest boost yet on Saturday when Chief Executive Leung Chun-ying controversially announced he would join the signature campaign, followed by Health Chief Koh-wing Man, Development Minister Paul Chan, and Treasury Undersecretary James Lau. Home Affairs Chief Zhang Tak-sing also confirmed today he had signed his name. Chow dismissed concerns that the chief executive's signature will pressure his ministers and loyalists to join the campaign, alienating the pro-democracy camp even further.
Maybe the media thinks the CE's signature is very, very important. But as far as we're concerned, if and when he signs, he would be one of 935,000 signatures. That's all.
The original goal was to collect more than 780,000 signatures, the number of ballots collected during Occupy Central's unofficial 10-day referendum on political reform. About 700,000 of the voters support giving the public a greater say in the nomination process for chief executive candidates in 2017. Chow said the fact that his group managed to surpass this target in only 9 days shows the Occupy movement merely reflects the views of the minority.
What we do not want to see is a non-vote carrying organization like Occupy Central being presented as the governing body of all the different pan-democratic parties and be able to dictate terms.
Most of the city's 27 pan-democrat lawmakers have vowed to join Occupy's bid to stage a full-scale street blockade of Central to pressure Beijing into granting Hong Kong a genuine universal suffrage package. Chow insisted that only the 70 legislators elected by the people of Hong Kong have the right to negotiate political reform with Beijing. On the related note, Chow suggested that media tycoon Jimmy Lai could be the one funding and controlling Occupy from behind the scenes. He also hit back at critics who slammed him for claiming to care about Hong Kong when he was one of the 50,000 so-called elite local families who were offered British nationality after the handover in 1997.
Today I've instructed my lawyers to find out how exactly can one truly renounce the right to claim a British passport. I will proceed to totally, completely, and absolutely renounce the right to claim a British nationality.
In another development, Chief Secretary Carrie Lam took to the US-based Wall Street Journal to note that at the moment, the government can't get the two-thirds majority support eventually required to approve a final reform package. She warned that if there's no consensus, constitutional development will come to a standstill and harm government operations.
5 influential business groups have joined forces to oppose Occupy Central and warn people not to join the movement. ATV's Winner Wong reports.
The chairman of 5 business and trade groups joined forces as they renewed their condemnation of the Occupy Central movement. The Hong Kong General Chamber of Commerce, Chinese General Chamber of Commerce, Chinese Manufacturers Association, the Federation of Hong Kong Industries, and the Real Estate Developers Association said they respect people's right to express their opinions, but that was not the problem.
If you do illegally take over a particular area or territory in Hong Kong, causing disruption to traffic, to normal work, then in fact you are causing a lot of damage to the economy of Hong Kong. Then what will happen is that business activities and also normal social activities will be interrupted.
The business lobby urged activists planning to occupy Central in the push for genuine universal suffrage to think about the rights of others who work in the business hub. They warned that as Hong Kong is small and interlinked, paralyzing one part of the city could affect emergency services. The Chinese General Chamber of Commerce warned of severe economic damage, with the tourism sector hit the hardest because the action could deter visitors. The business leaders insisted there are many legal ways for the pro-democracy camp to make its voice heard. They said their own staff would not be forced to accept the views of the 5 chairmen, but any Occupy Central activity should be done in their own time. Winner Wong, ATV News.
A Chinese university study has found that 10% of Hong Kong's population is diabetic. 1 in 5 patients are aged below 40. ATV's Anne Chang reports.
At least 20,000 people were admitted to local hospitals in 2012 for diabetes, which killed 398 people that year. A joint study by the Chinese University and the Institute of Diabetes and Obesity analyzed 10,000 cases between 1995 and 2009. The study found that 10% of Hong Kong's population is diabetic. More surprising is that 30% of diabetics are of normal weight.
So I think the message is diabetes affects young and old, affects lean and overweight. And I think people need to know their risk and actually take action, because diabetes is preventable and its complications are preventable and treatable.
Family history and personal lifestyle are key causes of those who are affected at an earlier age. If either parent has diabetes, the risk is increased 3 times and 6 times higher if both parents are diabetics. Chan said proper assessment and treatment in the first 5 years after a person contracts diabetes can reduce the chances of blindness and kidney failure. Since diabetes often has no obvious symptoms, many people are unaware that they have the disease. This patient says because people don't expect to become diabetics, they have no knowledge about the disease and are not motivated to know more about it. With diabetes expected to affect more people, experts recommend a healthy lifestyle and regular checkups to keep it at bay. Ann Chang, ATV News.
Overseas, the UN Secretary General has warned that the Gaza Strip is in a critical condition and called for the violence to end in the name of humanity. More than 1,000 Palestinians and 43 Israeli soldiers have been killed in 20 days of fighting. ATV's Arthur Urquiola reports.
Palestinians in the West Bank have been shopping for traditional items for Eid, the festival at the end of the holy fasting month of Ramadan. But there was little joy in the air. The atmosphere was worse in the Gaza Strip, where more than 1,000 Palestinians have been killed in Israeli air, land, and sea attacks over the past 20 days. Shops in Gaza sealed their doors, and Palestinians wandered through the ruins to salvage what they could from their former homes. The despair of the 1.8 million people trapped in a tiny area forced some in the town of Khan Yunis to attack the office of the International Committee of the Red Cross, the ICRC. They burned furniture inside as a protest against the lack of assistance for the victims of the Israeli offensive.
But we understand the frustration and the fears and the high expectations that the Palestinians they have with the ICRC. There's a lot of hospitals as well which are under fire, so there's a lot of tension sometimes.
In a hospital in Khan Yunis, doctors are monitoring the health of a baby born an orphan. Shema Hussein was delivered after her mother died from her injuries. The infant's father and siblings were also killed in an Israeli airstrike. Across the border, Israel buried a soldier, one of 43 to die in the violence. At the UN in New York, the Security Council called for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire extending beyond Eid. The Palestinian envoy noted that it took almost 3 weeks for the world to act.
They should have adopted a resolution long time ago to condemn this aggression and to call for this aggression to be stopped immediately, to provide the Palestinian people with protection, and to lift the siege against our people in the Gaza Strip.
The Israeli ambassador accused Muslim countries of giving Hamas, which rules Gaza, the funds to build rockets.
The bigger picture is the demilitarization